Hi everyone, I'm Patience Modevi, and I am a mindset coach. I am a certified NLP practitioner.
Hello and welcome to Obehi Podcast. I'm your host, Obehi A14, and I strongly believe that everyone has a story to share. Now let's get started with this episode.
I work primarily with women, and I also work with young people to support them. Actually, both audience to support them into living their best lives.
Were you actually born in London? Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so I was born in France, and then I came in my early 20s to London, and I've been here since. So that's been about 20 something years that I've been living in London.
So how had the experience been for you? You were born in France and you live in the UK. So how does the experience look like for you?
To be honest with you, there's different experiences, but I guess overall they're a little bit of the same. The reason why I came in London is because I wanted a different avenue from the avenues that were available to me in France at the time. So when I finished school, I decided that it would be a good thing for me to go on this adventure and to come to London and learn English. But it's partly also because of my mom, as you already know. She was Ghanaian and my dad was Togolese. So she had this side of a family being in England, and we have like this. I've got the both, if I can say, both culture in my family. So she kind of wanted me to come, and when she passed away, when I was quite young.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Well, that's life. But yes, so when she passed away, I kind of like really wanted to come to London and try and find my own kind of like path, if I can say it like this.
All right. So how has that journey been for you? Because you are in the UK. Okay, I understand that you're not the baby. You are a mature adult now. But how had the journey been for you? Because now we are going to be talking about what you actually do now in your professional life.
Yes. So what happened? So actually, that's a really good question you're asking right now, Obi. So basically, when my mom died, it kind of shattered my world. So my world was, if I can say, picture perfect, where I was into the following the rules and doing everything and being a good coming from an African background. And I think what happened is that when my mom passed away, it kind of shattered all my kind of roots and things that I had set up. So then I really wanted for myself to reconstruct this kind of like family unit that I had lost. And through that, um, unfortunately, I met my husband, who is not my husband right now, but my husband at the time. And we got married. And unfortunately, because I was in this idea of creating my family again and having this family unit, I actually didn't see the warning sign. I didn't see anything that was, if I can say, um, things that you would see if you had the proper, if I can say, holistic education, not just education, and also the support that you should have. So I married quite young. I was like 20. I wasn't even 20 when I married. It's to tell you as much as I really wanted to belong to this kind of family unit. And then what happened is that led to different difficulties and challenges which meant that 3 years later, me and my husband had to separate. Um, and then in this relationship, I had a son, my firstborn, and at the same time, I got to understand that he was diagnosed as autistic. So when that happened, I was already into a whirlwind of overwhelm with the relationship, not having gained what I really wanted to gain, and then coming back and being on my own, and then having my son who had the disability that I knew nothing about. So as a single mother at that time, I think I needed the support and I needed people to be there to encourage me and to motivate me into understanding that not all was lost. But unfortunately, I didn't have this. What happened is that when you are young and things happen in your life, and they're kind of called trauma, basically. And when these traumas happen in your life, what happens is that you start to become a people pleaser. You start to accept things that you wouldn't accept, and so on and so on. And it becomes like a domino effect on things that are happening. And I felt like life was really happening to me, where instead of me actually, instead of me actually living my life, if I can say it like that. So really young, things were quite challenging. And because they were quite challenging, and because I had this traditional culture of like, you need to obey for example, obey your elders, or you need to stay in your place, or you need to not take too much space, or this and that. It took me a long time to come out of my shell and to actually become the woman that I've become. I think that I'm still having confidence issues. I think everybody has them, but they are really on a low level. And I am adamant that I can live the life that I want. I am actually living a really good life compared to what I had previously thought of. And what happened is that I think people gravitated to me. So they gravitated to me because having had this experience, I am somebody who is really inspiring. I will motivate people. I will push them so that they can achieve more than they think they can achieve. And into this, I started to actually understand that I wouldn't say I had the gift per se, but I was really someone to guide people. And I actually got a mentor who actually said to me, your job or your mission here that you came to do is you came to guide people and to support people into becoming their best self. And this is what I'm doing. So I've been learning how to coach professionally. I've been learning other modalities. I've been educating myself in a way that I can look at my experience and I can support young people, because young people, I'm really passionate about the fact that I didn't have the people I needed at the time. And I want to do this for young people, and I want to be that person for young people. And at the same time, women, because I believe women go through a lot of things. So one of the things I will say, for example, I'm going to say black people, black people or people of a black heritage or Asian heritage, is that you have to be strong. You have to be doing everything. You shouldn't complain. You shouldn't want something on your own because that's selfish. You should look after others. We are taught, especially as women, that the way to live a good life is to be good to others, to be good to your husband, to be good to your children, to be good to your parents. What about being good for yourself first and foremost, and then supporting others? So in a shell. Sorry, I think I spoke for a while now, but
No. That's
actually,
perfectly fine. We're here for you. We're here for you. You never speak
but
too much here.
but actually, so basically, this is the reason why I do what I do. And this is the reason why I'm really passionate into helping people. And I believe that when you work on the mindset, you kind of liberate certain things. Like it's as if we had like a cage inside of us, and that we are just opening the cage to all the possibilities that are out there. So a possibility for me, something that is important for me might not be important to you or for you, or when everybody is got their own degree of what it is that they wish. So, for example, I coach a man actually. So I don't only coach women, I coach a man, and he sent me a WhatsApp message a couple of days ago where he was actually in front of a plane, and the plane was just behind him, and he was like, "I'm learning to fly." And like, I got goosebumps, and I was like, "Oh my God, I love it. That's amazing." And he said, "Yes, you told me that I needed to live my life. I needed to, you know, really live it, not survive your life, but actually live your life." And this is what I'm doing. I was like just amazed. So it's to tell you that sometimes if you have the right person with you, if you have the person that can really unlock this with you, you can go on and do whatever it is that you wish to do.
Thank you so much for that. The patient. That is really very important. It's inspiring. It's
Yeah.
really inspiring because sometimes, yeah, life is not just a simple thing that we just already understand. Just come and live it. No, you are going to have to find out for yourself, and maybe that is what really make it more beautiful at the end of the day. Because now you become a teacher, but before you can teach, you first of all need to experience what you are teaching. Otherwise, you don't know what you are talking about. So it is very important that we really live, and living encompasses everything that life has to offer. It's not always only good. It's not always only bad. It's full of everything. And this thing is what really, I think, help us to become more mature so that when we talk from experience. You
Mm.
see, the saying in Africa that what a man sees sitting down on his chair, a child that is on top of the tree cannot see it. It is true. But
It
this
is.
is actually about the experience because the man that is sitting down has gone through all sort of experiences in life. So when he's talking from experience. So thank you for that sharing.
That's okay.
To help people in your work, tell me exactly what you do.
Okay. So basically, there is two parts, like I was saying, of my work. So when I work with young people, I'm going to start with young people. When I work with young people, I have certain things that I work on. So I work on relationships. The reason why I work on relationships is because it's not just about the relationship with your partner. It's also with the relationships you have in your workplace, the relationship you have with your friends, the relationship you have with your parents, with your family, and really understanding the ins and outs of how to create relationship that helps you build yourself up, but also helps you to create an ecosystem around you. Basically, an ecosystem that is going to bring you the to the vision that you have for yourself, basically. Then I work with them on money mindset. And with money mindset, what we do is it's not just about the fact that you can go to the bank, open a bank account, save money, the percentage of savings that you do. It's not just about that. It's about also understanding the value of money and what the value of money does in your life, what it is that you want to do, what do you want to appreciate with the money that you have, how are you building yourself up for your future with the money that you have. So for example, a lot of young people now, and that's amazing to see, a lot of young people now don't just want to come in and work for someone. And this is I did a program a year ago with about a group of people, and I was explaining to them that it's amazing the fact that you have a job and you work for a company, but working with a company, it also brings its own set of boundaries, of limits. So, for example, if I can just give a quick example here, is that you will work all your life for this company until you get to retire. Once you retire, you have maybe this percentage of your life left that you need to live, and unfortunately, sometimes a lot of people do not get to really enjoy their full retirement, or a lot of people, especially in our communities, they've done work that unfortunately are not highly paid, and therefore they're struggling when they're retired. And so what I'm teaching young people is to see beyond today. Even though the idea is to live your life as it is right now, but it's also how do you see your future? How do you see yourself into where are you going to live? How are you going to be good? Which holidays are you going to have? Which people are you going to be with? Which kind of life you aspire to have? And then putting the things in place so that your vision actually starts from now on, basically. So that's one another thing. And then I work a lot on mindfulness. And the reason why I work on mindfulness is because in terms of like mental health, in terms of like managing it, and understanding ways of being into life, you have to slow down. And I know that we live in a fast-paced life, but actually slowing down and actually being intentional into what we are doing in life is actually what brings you forward even more faster. I know it doesn't make sense, but believe me, it works that way. And then I work a lot on, limiting beliefs, confidence building. Like, for example, if I was to tell you about confidence, did you know that for especially in, I would say, the Black culture or the Asian culture, there's an emphasis on being educated and going into being a doctor or being, I don't know, a lawyer or, really high academic levels. However, when this is happening, often there's another side that slips. So that's the side that I call holistic um, holistic education. So the holistic education slips away. And then you have people who have been on high pressure, high pressure, high pressure for a long time, and then find it difficult to do maybe simple things, or find it difficult to even have a relationship because of that, because of the anxiety, because of the stress, the overwhelm, and everything that they've carried on with them. And another thing as well is that statistic will show you, for example, that because someone actually the actual statistic I've got is that women between girls and boys, you will find that girls are really, really high in their academic level in terms of results. They have higher results than men, than boys. However, when they get into a career, because they lack of confidence, because they have those limiting beliefs, because they have the fear, the doubts, and every other things that come with it, they tend to not go for the promotion. They tend to not be bold into their asking, and therefore they stay behind. And you find that it's the reverse. In a career, you will find that it's mostly men that go above and beyond and will ask for the promotion, but without certification, yet or not, basically. So they, even when they don't have certification, they will say, I deserve this, I'm going for this. And they'll have the confidence to do that. However, a woman will go in and say, no, 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 I need to have this set of skills, I need to have this expertise, I need to have this certificate because I can ask this much. And unfortunately, it's been proven. There's even a book which is called the Confidence Girl. If people are interested in looking into it, there's a lot of research around what building confidence can do in your life. So yes. And this was only the part about the young people. Can you imagine? And with yeah, with the women, I work more onto them understanding the belief that they carry. So, which kind of belief they carry that is actually holding them down. They might not think that those beliefs are holding them down. So, what we do is we go through the assessment and we understand where they're at. And then what I work a lot with is creating that dream and creating the steps to achieve that dream. From there, we go into the anchoring. So I use modalities such as NLP and also EFT. NLP is really to kind of like anchoring the work. So you're doing the work, then I'm coaching you with the step by step on how to achieve it. Yes. But don't forget that we all carry some level of trauma. So therefore, the limiting beliefs are there. And also, what happens is that we are carrying our subconscious. So our subconscious is actually what is driving us into action. So we always think that is our conscious mind, but actually is our subconscious that is helping us go forward. So if you have limiting belief, doubt, overwhelm, stress, anxiety, worries, what happens is that the actions you're going to take are going to be really slower. And instead of leaping and really reaching into what should be yours, you're going to be stalling, 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 stalling. And this is how I support women with EFT. EFT is a modality that is being created. It's actually it's a variant of like NLP mixed with acupressure points. Yeah. So it's tapping on certain point on our body to release this anxiety, to release everything. And what happens is that when you release it, what are you actually doing? You're actually accepting things. So, for example, you accepting that you feel guilt. Because you're feeling guilt, you've accepted it. What happens is that you are more able to release it. And then you tap on the point. And the more you practice this, the more you practice it, the more you practice it, the less you will feel the guilt. It's the same for the shame, is the thing from anxiety, for overwhelm. And this is something that helps you kind of like, regulate your emotion and helps you also to go forward. Be less afraid and be able to go fearlessly and boldlessly into your calling.
I heard you did make mention of limited belief, and this is something that is very powerful among, particularly our demography, African diaspora, but even among Africans. I'm not saying it is not among other people, but because that is the demography that we are concentrating on. I'm trying to understand, how did we get there? What is responsible for some of this limited belief that sort of help people back from what they want to achieve in life?
To be honest with you, actually, thank you so much for this question, because I spoke about it at a conference a few months ago. And I feel that our culture and our tradition is amazing. And not only amazing, I think that a lot of things have come in time that is created this kind of fear into people's minds. And this fear is actually as well like a domino effect is gone onto other things. So for example, I don't know if you know about that, but there's also science that shows that actually when you have fear or when there's things, it can also be given through generation. So you can pass it through your child. You can pass your anxiety through your child. So understanding that we come from a, a culture that has had a lot of trauma and a lot of generational trauma, you can imagine that this is passed along to other generations. And what happens is that instead of going away from the fear, what people tend to do, I mean, the majority tends to do, not everyone, is that we tend to carry on the fear. Yeah. So, for example, if you say to me, "Oh, Patience, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to go and fly and learn to fly a plane." Yeah. And then I say to you, "Oh my God, do you know that my neighbor went to that? He went to do exactly this and he died. And when he died, you know what happened? His mom died as well because she was so sad. Da, 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 da. And then you know what happened? You understand what I'm saying? You this basically we carry on the fear and we send it. So I think we spoke before, and I told you there was an example. I remember, so basically, I lived in Togo for a few years when I was a child. And when I got to Lomé, Lomé is next to the beach. So we went to the beach the first time I went there. I was like amazed. I was like, oh my God, it's beautiful and I love it. I want to go and jump in it. And automatically, my aunt went like, no, 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 no. Don't go. If you go into the water, Mami Wata will come and get you. I was like, Mami Wata? Who is Mami Wata? So, but basically, Mami Wata, I'm not too sure if she does exist or not. And I'm sure the African community will know about Mami Wata. But basically, she's fear. She's basically fear. And it's fear that is being given again to, for example, a child. At the time I was a child. And so I'm living with this fear. So my friend comes in. I'm like, no, 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 don't go to the water because in the water there's Mami Water and you're gonna disappear. You're not gonna come back. But it's basically maybe people who didn't know how to swim went into the water and drowned and they couldn't find their body. So that could be that as well. But also there's a lot of tradition around Mami Wata and what it signifies. So I don't want to go into too much about it
But
because
you can go. It is important
yeah,
because now you're talking of the origin behind some of this fear that people have. And I think
yeah,
it is important that we talk about them. You see, it exists
yeah,
in nearly all the cultures in Africa. In my culture, for example, in Esan, which is the south of Nigeria, we call we have a name for a monster. It's called Odudu. And the thing now, of course, when we are children, we don't really understand the significance of this thing. We don't know what it means. But right from childhood, they begin to plant this idea in your head. And because this Odudu, or a monster as it were, of course, that would be the translation in English, you don't know what it looked like. Then you begin to form images around it. At the point you begin to really see it. Even though nobody really have any picture of it, nobody can really describe what it is to you except that it is an epitome, it is a representation of fear. But this fear
exactly.
now can be dangerous because later, if we don't decode it very well, then it begins to affect us negatively. So yeah, if there is anything you want to say more, that is, but also because as we were talking of Mami Water, I think what we should do in Africa is that we should explain to people enough. We should give them enough information about the thing that we actually do,
Yeah,
so that they can begin to figure out things for themselves. Now, let's look at the mere common sense. If we continue to frighten people with Mami Water about water, now what is going to happen is that people are going to have negative feeling about water and about encounter with water and about going into the water because they believe that there is a monster inside the water. But if that is what is happening, how are we going to develop our marine? How are we going to develop people that are the underwater people that are people that are a lot of life inside the water? If we never explore it, how are we going to know what it is? Instead, we
Yeah.
don't carry on this generational fear, transmission of fear to fear to fear. Nobody ever find out this mommy water. How does it look like?
Yes.
Please go.
Well, I love what you're saying because if I don't know if it's the same in Nigeria, but I'm just gonna go from my own experience. So basically, in whether in Togo, and I've seen it in my husband is from Ivory Coast. I've seen it into the Ivory Coast as well. Um, like tradition, when people live next to the water, they say, "Oh no, no, no! Those are the people who live near the water." Like the people who live near the water are like a different species. Sorry to say that, but basically that's what they say. Why? Because people who live around the water, they've been around the water since they were born. So they carry no fear about the water. So they will go and swim, they will go and know how to fish, they will go and take the little boats into the sea and come back and things like that. They don't have that fear, and because they don't have that fear, it's kind of like as if they were a little bit like an outcast. And this is something that I've noticed, like I said, not just in Togo, but I've noticed it also in um, in Ivory Coast as well. But coming back to what you were saying, exactly, so basically you have a lot of people who if I was to go like in the south of France on holiday, I will see people surfing in Arcachon. Okay, so people go and surf, but why can't people surf maybe in Togo? Why can't people surf in Ivory Coast? Why can't it become the surf land? Do you understand what I'm saying by that? Why do you need to go to Hawaii before you can do some surfing? Why is there no competition of surfing? In Africa. Have you ever heard of that? I mean, maybe there is, maybe there are. I haven't seen it, but it's things like that that means that we are only doing certain things, and we are limited to that. So limited to a certain status of what we need to become or stay. And this is where you can see that it's not about what you bring. So you could bring the surfboard. It's not going to change anything. It's about what people think in their mind. So when you're working on the mindset and when you're making people to understand and come to a realization that actually there is no fear, all you have to do is put some steps into safety, if I can say it like that. Then what happens is that you start to create a wider range of your allowance, if I can say allowance into what you can achieve, what you cannot achieve. And a lot, so I use the surfing experience here, but you can imagine that it applies to different things that are not being done in Africa or could be done, but they are carried, people are carrying a lot of fear and doubt about it.
Thank you for that. No, it is important. Of course, I'm going to ask you just now how we can uh, dismantle some of this fear. Because with all those fear in us, we cannot go very far in life. The other day, no, actually, well, yesterday I was talking with my wife, about our culture. That sometimes we have not been bold enough to change some of these things. And of course, I even did a small video and put it out there because the guest I was interviewed before them was making reference to child marriage in northern Nigeria. And so people there say it is their culture. I say, okay, fine, it is culture. But what is even culture in that sense? Let's try to refine it. Let's try to understand it. You see, when people set up the code that guide their society, they did it within a time frame. And of course, they die and they pass on this to their children and their children's children. I think the error that we make most of the time is that we think that those who did that in their time already foresee everything that is going to happen in this world and they set
Yeah.
up the code that must guide your life for thy kingdom come. It is not
Yeah.
true. It is wrong. That is, they were acting based on their level of understanding, within their capacity, within their limit, within their own. Now, take a look at it in a very simple way. When, say maybe for example, 250 years ago, 500 years ago, I don't want to go as far as 1,000 years ago or 2 or 3,000 years ago. Those that were living then didn't know that there was going to be internet. So in their structure of life, there was no room for internet.
Yeah.
They didn't know that somebody could be flying in the air in the name of aeroplane. How can you do that? It cannot even be imagined.
Yeah.
Somebody flying in the air? You can't think of that. So a culture that will exist at that time cannot, of course, include that. So if we now have those things living, we are using supercomputers today. Some of the things that we are talking about as our culture, of course, some of them does not stand the test of time anymore. But it doesn't mean we need to throw
Oh
them
my
away.
gosh.
We just need to take them up and refine them. The one that can stand the test of time, we take them. Those that cannot stand the test of time, we just wipe them away. Or maybe we can make a copy of them and put them in the museum. If we don't do that, we will always be going back. But we're supposed to be going ahead. How can we dismantle some of these limiting beliefs so that we can progress? Because with
I love
it,
that.
we cannot go anywhere.
Oh my gosh. So I love that. I love what you were saying. And you know what? When you were talking, I thought of Bob Marley. And I don't know if you know the Redemption song where he says exactly that. He says, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. And as you were talking, I was just really seeing this like in big in my head, is that so fear is used to keep people in general, to keep people playing a small. But what happened, and especially in our continent, I'm going to say, is that we have a long-standing of history of fear being used to actually stop nations. So can you imagine the work that we have to do? So obviously, we always say that the everything is in the end of the people, but I think it's not only in the end of the people; it's in the end of everybody, and we all have to do some collective work. However, on an individual coming from an individual place, yeah, and coming from your place, what it is that is your deepest desire? Do you actually know what is your deepest desire? I'm not talking about what your mom, your dad, your aunt, or somebody has said that was yours. What is yours for you? So, for example, you were talking about these young people, these young just girls who are going to child marriage. Yeah. They haven't asked to go into child marriage. And I think that there's something we need to really understand is like the liberty of people, it stops where you're hurting someone else's liberty. So what you are creating, for example, when you're putting a child into a child marriage, is you're creating trauma. So that trauma, it keeps on happening and happening and happening. There's so many different traditions and cultures that are still being done right now at this moment in time, which shouldn't exist. They shouldn't exist because they are creating hurt and they are a natural danger to humanity. And when I say a natural danger, there's people who go into child marriage and they die. And I think people need to be aware of that. There's people who have female genitalia mutilation, and that creates that a child is going to die. I've actually assisted a woman who had this made to her, and she was pregnant. And when she got to the hospital in here in Europe, yeah, when she got to the hospital, because they didn't have her paperwork, they never knew she had female, she had this done to her. So basically, they had to create a situation in emergency to get the baby out. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what this is causing? So it's not only causing hurt, it didn't cause hurt to this woman once when she had to go through the procedure. In her life, it's created a problem for her. So the trauma keeps on coming, yeah? And then when she went to give birth again, it caused a problem. Can you imagine that in Africa, for example, if a woman doesn't have a child, it's sad to say that, but if a woman doesn't have a child at a certain age, they say something is wrong with her. However, if you've performed this onto this person and then the child dies because of that, whose fault is it? At the time, nobody wants to take the blame. Nobody wants to say, well, actually, I did this to my daughter. No, 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 no. What they want to say is it was God's will. And I'm sorry to say that and to shatter people's belief, but basically, it is not God's will. God's will has never been that somebody is going to come and is going to suffer because of what somebody else is decided. That's not God's will. God is supposed to be love. God is supposed to be safety. God is the is what we go through. And when I say God, let me clarify. It's any what who is God for you? So basically, if for you God is Jesus, is Jesus. If it is Allah, it's Allah. If it is, so whatever you decide that God is the identity, is God never decided that you come here to suffer. So to come back to me and my work is to help you understand and to help people understand, especially women, that they are here to live the best life that they wish for themselves, not for their parents, not for their tradition, not for their culture, not for whoever, just for themselves. And to go and grab what is theirs. Because if we go into the idea that God has set things for us and it is part of our destiny, God has set good things for you to have. And those things are not for you to be suffering. The fact that people say, oh, you need to suffer because for example, I'm so sorry to go into this rant. I feel like it's going into a rant now. But basically, so when you are doing something, they say, oh, you have to suffer so that you can have this good thing, or you have to work hard so that you can have this good thing. Believe me, there are people who do not work hard and still they have a good life. There are people who do not have to go into suffering after suffering and still they have a good life. So why can't the majority of people get that? Why does it have to be about just a certain percentage of the population who's going to have that? Why, as a parent, you wouldn't want this for your child or for your sister, your brother, your mom? Why do we have to carry this idea that everything needs to be difficult? It doesn't have to be difficult. It can get easy. And the way it gets easy is by breaking down those beliefs. So, for example, if you have a belief about something, we need to find the evidence that makes you believe that this is true. Is this the real truth? And when you keep on asking questions, so basically the way you start to unravel things is you start asking questions. The more you ask questions, the more you are inquisitive with yourself, with people around you, with what is in your background, what is in your tradition. The more you're doing research, the more you're going to educate yourself, the more you're going to change your ideas. And when you change ideas, it scares people. So we come back again at the fear. And that fear, somebody else who is maybe carrying that fear might try to stop you on your journey. But the idea is that you gain skills that make you confident enough to know that, no, this is my truth and this is where I'm going. This is what I'm going to do, regardless of whoever's opinion or what people think. And this is for my own good, and my own good is in this way. And I think what happens with change is that people are afraid of change, but actually change is the best thing ever if you put it in a positive way. So if you really go look deeper and understand what is going to bring this and this for myself, what's going to bring this and this for my family, what's going to make me go forward, what's going to help me create a community that is going to go forward, what's going to help me to actually move in a way that is going to bring the masses with me and towards me. And this is what we have to do. I think we have more of this work to do. And when one person evolve, when one person changes their mindset in a family, it's the whole family that changed the mindset. You might not think that you change it, but it does change. And it changed by time. So if you are in your family and you feel like, oh, nobody's going to change, you shouldn't think like that. You should think, you know what? I'm going to do the change. I'm going to work on myself. And this is in domino effect going to work on other people. Because believe me, when people see you going forth, when they see you having the life that you desire, when they see you succeeding, what do? They want to know what's your secrets. So then you can tell them, I did this, I went this way, I did it like that. I don't think you shouldn't keep any secret to yourself. There's no secrets. You should always tell people how they can go forward and how they can bring the best of themselves. Because once they also do it, other people will follow.
All right. I read the book, The Science of Getting Rich by Walter Wallace. I think that book was written in 1910. But not a date. Many people still continue to read it. Of course, there are a lot of lessons, a lot of beautiful things inside that book. I just want to make mention of one, no? That we need to, in this new economy, this economy that is dominated by knowledge, by service, we need to learn to be creative, and we need to learn to even get rich through creativity. Because like what Wallace was saying in the book, it is better to get rich through creativity than through competition. Because if you get rich through competition, it basically means you are climbing a ladder to get there. And when you get there, you throw away the ladder because you don't want somebody to meet you, because you are competing with somebody else. But if we understand the abundance in this world, can you imagine that for several millennia, centuries, that we have always been taught of limitations? The water is not enough for everybody. The food is not enough for everybody in this world. And you cannot imagine the atrocity that have been committed in those names. But nobody have ever asked, okay, let's go to take of it. Let's think about it. If you were standing at a very high up Earth in the universe and you are looking at Earth, it looks like a dot. How can we be talking of limitation? There is infinite space that we can go there to explore. And we are only living on Earth. Why should we be thinking that everything is limited? There is limitless possibility. What Wallace was saying also in the book, let me make mention of also another thing that he was saying, that, of course, this thing talking about metaphysics now, that, okay, in the Bible it was written that, of course, in the beginning that everything was in bubble, no, until God said, let there be light. And there was light. And from there, he began to create everything. And now, the thing that we are probably going to understand is that where is God getting the thing that is used to create it? So it means that the same energy that he used to create it is still available for us. Meaning that we can still create, no? So why are we always afraid of the limitation that is not enough? It's not enough. It is enough. It is abundance. He is saying in the book that everybody in this world can be rich. There is still going to be abundance for every one of us. If we understand it, if we understand it from this, we should be free, because there is enough. There is enough for everybody. So that I just wanted to say this because you did mention of the Father. Share. Don't be afraid. Don't keep it to yourself as a secret. No, we really shouldn't do that. There is no secret. Okay, there are secrets because not everybody knows this, but don't keep it to yourself alone. Share.
Yes.
All right. Now, another question I want to ask you is because I sincerely believe that we are going to be useful to the society. And the way to be useful is to make sure that what we know plus ourselves should be put at the service of the people. If we don't do that, then we are useless to the society.
Exactly.
Because how are they going to benefit from us? Just because you are tall, you are occupying a space. What is the benefit of the society because of you? So
Exactly.
we must be useful. Please go. I know you want to say something there.
No, no, no. I love what you're saying. I think that we have come here with a purpose. So each and every one of us has got a purpose that we need to come and fulfill. So the question I want to ask people is, do you know what your purpose is? So, for example, myself, I now know that I can come and guide people and to motivate them and support them into becoming the best self that they can be and shatter all their fear, their worries, and their doubts. But there are other people who've got other skill, other powers. I would say I would call them powers. Yeah, there are other like you have your power. You also have powers. So everybody, each and every one of us, have this, like you were saying, endless possibilities and capacities. Is how do you tap into those capacities? What do you do? What do you create so that you can tap into those capacities? And this is where you have people like me. So people who have coaches. Let me give you an example. You will not see, or will you will not, you will not see an athlete without a coach. Why? Does that mean that they don't have a gift? Yes, they have a gift. But why do they have a coach? Why do they have somebody who is helping them? Because you need that push. Because when you want to give up, or when you're thinking, no, 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 this is not for me, that person is there to tell you that not only this is for you, but also you can create so much more that you haven't even begun to open the realm of creativity that you have, exactly like what you were saying before. And I think this is something that maybe in the Occidental world is been known for a long time. You will find that people have coaches, they have mentors, they have support people to support them into achieving those things. And often what happens is that in our community, we do not have those people, but we have aunts, we have uncle, we have big brothers, big sisters. And if we have been able to, for example, create a change, let's say I create a change in my family and my firstborn then understand what I teach him. What it does is that it creates a kind of like an anchor to what it is that I've said, what it is that I've taught him. And then it teaches this anchor to another way. And you see how generation and generation and generation will be able to get this wealth of information, but this wealth of capacities. So what do we do? In general, this is why it makes me laugh, and this is why I say I love the fact that people are driven academically, but I want to people to have more of the ideas that not only you need that, but you also need the support of the mind. So, for example, there is really little parents that I know that haven't got tutors for their children. They've got tutors for math, they've got tutor for English or for another kind. They would got tutors for piano playing. Can you imagine? They've got tutors for music, but you have no tutors for your mindset. You have no tutor to support you and to actually push you into going on the right path. You don't have that tutor that is going to be there to guide you. So, for example, a mindset coach or someone that comes and give you a support like that, they don't tell you what to do. They use what you have. They use your capacities, and they show you that with that, you can do even more than what you're doing. You can multiply by 10, by 100, what it is that you will achieve. And I think this is where maybe sometimes the difference is in terms of like how, from what I've seen, if I can say it like that, even in Europe. So basically, I live in London, and most of the school, they're like, a mainstream school, they call. But once you get to secondary school, you will find that there's a divide. So you have some young people maybe who do better, and they go into academics that are more, uh, I don't want to say special, but they have more different ways of teaching that helps those young people to go into a certain level of the society. So, for example, grammar school, and you'll find that a lot of parents want their children to go into grammar school. But let's be real here. Not all the children can go into grammar school. And even the children that go into grammar school, for example, they're not going to necessarily become the next doctor or the next politician or the next, they're maybe not going to become all of that. So what do you do in that respect? What do you do after you've poured everything, all your money into the tutoring, all your money into going here and taking your child here, taking your child there, and you've not achieved that? What happens? You are deceived. And when you're deceived, instead of saying, oh, well, maybe that was not for my son, or maybe let's find out what is it for you. Most of, I mean, I don't want to blame people, but in general, people go, oh, you didn't try. And it becomes the child's fault. So again, we come back on the children. So we come back on the children with a lot of things. And I think if we can start on another side and we can teach other methods, not only the academic, but the academic and the holistic together, I think we can support our children to go even further. And then they become the society that we want, that is creating the change. And you can see it happening already because, for example, years ago, you wouldn't find young people going to the Bahamas or making videos and being influencers. And everybody now has the capacity to get on a plane and go to I don't know if it's the Bahamas, but go to a nice exotic place, and take some pictures and be in a nice hotel. It's reachable. If you look at in the 80s, that was an elite of people who used to be able to do that. And that elite of people were people who had this kind of setup in their life. So where they were pushed to go and achieve it, they were pushed to go and try things. And if you didn't have money, you wouldn't be able to get into this kind of settings, basically.
Things are changing. Even the world we live in too is changing.
Yeah.
I talk to young Africans continuously, both at home and abroad. But even there too, a lot of things are changing. Mindset is changing. And we have no alternative. We must develop this mindset because it looks very small, the thing on our head, the thing on top of us. But this is actually what controls everything. So we're going to have to look for a way to condition it for what we want. Otherwise, we're going to run around this world just trying to fulfill somebody's ambitions, whereas we are supposed to fulfill our own ambition and become significant in this world. All right. Thank you so much for the sharing, dear patient. Now, how can people connect with you? I want you to use this moment to advertise yourself shortly.
Okay. Well, they can connect with me by going on authenticare.co.uk. So that's www.authenticare, is OTENTICARE.co.uk, where they will find all the work that I do with women. And to be honest with you, this is the right time to get in touch with me, because I've got a program starting soon where I'm taking women on 90 days journey, where I'm going to support them into achieving all the things we talked about just now. And then I've got, obviously, because I do a lot of EFT, which is the modality that I spoke about to release your anxiety, stress, worries, fear. I'm doing a lot of workshops. So if you just get onto the events page, you'll be able to see everything that I'm doing there. And in terms of the young people, I've got some courses for young people, and I also work with projects. So I've got projects that I go and work with. I also have a really nice colleague that we created a site as well, where we kind of teach professionals to support young people. So how to change their mindset, how to maybe not change, but help them in their evolution into being better for what it is they want to achieve. And then, to be honest, I do coaching. So if you are a woman, if you are a parent, if you are a man as well, actually, I coach everyone. Although I don't really advertise it, there's also men that I coach. But yes, you can just get in touch with me, and we'll get from there. Have a conversation and really see where you're at and how I can best support you.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Now, what will be your final statement here? Maybe there is something else you wanted to say I did not ask you. So go ahead and say that to conclude it.
Wow, I actually thought we spoke a lot. I felt like we spoke a lot, but what I want to say to people is that the fear will always be there. For everything that you want to start and it's your first time, the fear will always be there. I was the first time I went on an interview, um, I was shaking. I wasn't confident in myself. I didn't know what to do and everything. But actually, realizing that I passed the first hurdle, I was able to actually be better at it. And I think that there's a few, if you don't mind, Obi, I want to give a few tips to people. Yeah?
Please go ahead. We
Okay.
need it.
Okay. So the first tip I want to say that I've just mentioned is that you need to try. Maybe not try, but actually surpass the fear. There's nothing wrong that is going to happen to you. If anything, it will be only positive things happening. So go for that. Then I want to tell people to do an assessment. Do a quick assessment. You take a simple piece of paper and you write onto this piece of paper what it is that I'm doing right now, where I'm at right now, what do I like about myself, how am I going forward, and everything. And then I want you to put a cross next to the things that you want to do more of, or you want to bring more or manifest more into your life. And then I want you to put them in each category of your life. So your career, your personal relationships, finances, every other things that you can think of, your education, your your health life, anything like that. You put it in category. And after that, I want you to think, in the next 6 months, where do I want to go, or what do I want to achieve? And create it in a way that you are actually being intentional about what you're doing. So from the things that you are right now, the thing that you enjoy the most and where you want to go, there's a gap. And every day you're going to take a step towards that vision. Okay. But you start with what you have, the capacity you have right now, and what you can do and how you can put it forward. That's another thing. And then the third thing I want you to do is I want you to take another piece of paper and write Who is around you? I want you to write who is around you in your family, who is around you in your career, in your friendships, people that you network with. And I want you to link that piece of paper to the other piece of paper and to see if those people that are there, they actually match your vision. And if they don't match your vision, I want you to do the last thing, which I will call declutter, which means that I want you to let go of these people and actually this will bring more of the people that are in line with your vision into your life. So those are my 4 tips that I'm leaving you with.
And those are very valuable. They are very valuable, Patience. I really do see it like that. So thank you so much. I really appreciate the time and appreciate the sharing. These are valuable information.
I
Thank you.
appreciate being here as well with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
If you enjoy this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi Podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obehi Ewafo. Thank you so much for listening and talk to you in the next episode.